no two environments are the same from a risk protection perspective, but there are some mistakes out there, and I see them, and I work with a lot of CISOs, and ransomware is a very big issue, and it's going to get worse, to be perfectly honest. We can go into reasons why that is, but you touched on one of them, right? One is insurance. It's crutch. It's one of the tools in the toolbox, but it is not a solution, right? It doesn't actually mitigate risk. It simply transfers the risks, and it's not a good long-term solution. And in many cases, it won't cover what you expect it to cover. The investment there needs to be weighed with open eyes to understand what the limitations are. And you're absolutely right when you say that the attackers are very interested in those organizations that have insurance because they know they're going to get paid. And unfortunately, a huge percentage of victims pay nowadays. So, it becomes a self-reinforcing problem because when the attackers get paid, they get motivated. Plus, they get much more resources, so they're just going to keep doing it. It follows the greed principle. We can get into that too. But so that's definitely one of the things. The other thing is there is no silver bullet for ransomware. You really do need to have an in-depth approach that both addresses the ability to avoid being victimized, but also on the other hand, that you need to be able to have the capability to minimize if you are. So we have to work in both spaces. And I see a lot of junior CISOs and their only focus is, I'm just going to prevent it. I'm just going to try and prevent it so it doesn't happen. And then when it does happen, it goes rampant and it can crater an organization. So it's always important to have a sustainable model, a defense in-depth model, layered models that crosses technology and processes and behaviors. And that would be one of my big recommendations is you really need to make sure, in addition to the tools that people normally employ, which are, email filters and web filters and malware, protection capabilities, that you really need to train your employees, anybody that has access. And that may also be your suppliers and vendors and interns and business partners, but you need to train them, because the number one method for ransomware to succeed is through social engineering. And if we can train our employees to be security savvy, that is one of the most powerful controls that you can implement. And it's something that a lot of CISOs don't focus on and they don't advocate. And in fact, it can be one of the least expensive options as well. But there are challenges with that because that takes productivity away from your employee base. So there needs to be a plan around it. It needs to be justified. It has to be supported by senior management. That's number one. The second most popular vector for attackers is to take advantage of poor credentials, right? Poor passwords or reusing passwords or weak passwords or sharing passwords or credentials or whatever, not having multi-factor authentication, things of that sort. And when you do have that, one, it helps you stop attacks from happening. But on the other hand, once they do attack, again, it's really much more difficult for attackers to then propagate that. It gives you time to respond. It gives you time to compartmentalize and to recover.